Russia is taking steps to bolster its war effort in Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands of reservists are being called up to fight. The Kremlin says there's no shortage of people answering the call. President Vladimir Putin has increased the penalties for anyone refusing to fight, but that hasn't stopped a wave of Russians fleeing the country to escape the draft, while others have stayed to protest.
Long lines of vehicles at the Lasy border crossing an entry point to Georgia. These men are fleeing Russia and Vladimir Putin's military mobilization. We have paid $1,200 to be escorted to the point which is 3 kilometers before the Russian checkpoint on the Russia-Georgia border. Because if you just honestly stay in queue, leaving Russia could take at least 72 hours. Paying our fee, we made it in 30 hours. Russian authorities acknowledged a significant influx of cars trying to cross into Georgia. This comes after the announcement of a partial mobilization sparked an exodus of fighting-age men, and some of them fear that the situation will get even worse. I expect martial law be declared as a result of unification with those eastern parts of Ukraine to Russia, which will be followed by a global mobilization. For me personally, I see neither ideological nor legal grounds for myself to get involved in this war. A sentiment shared by many in Russia who have protested against Moscow's call-up of military reservists. In the Dagestan region there were clashes with police. Over 100 people were arrested, a human rights monitor says. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on Russians to not submit to mobilization. We see that people, in particular in Dagestan, began to fight for their lives. We see that they are beginning to understand that this is a question of their lives. Why should their husbands, brothers, sons die in this war? In a war that one man wants. In a war against our people, on our land. He does not send his children to war. Trying to stop the exodus, Russia toughened penalties for voluntary surrender and refusal to fight, with those who do that now facing up to 10 years in prison. But for many, the alternative is far more intimidating.
Right, well, let's discuss this further with DW's Russia analyst Roman Goncharenko. Good to see you, Roman. So we're seeing protests and people leaving the country. Is this going to have any effect on Putin's mobilization drive?
Well, yes, it is having an effect already. The mobilization is not running according to the plan. The longer it lasts, the bigger the problems are. And even high-ranking Russian officials are criticizing how the mobilization is being done. The frustration in the society is growing. We see that, but we shouldn't overestimate those pictures of those queues at the borders and the people protesting in the streets. It's still a minority. And most of the people are just fulfilling the orders, just get on the bus and being driven to the front line or to the training centers, and then they will join the war. So a majority of Russians that are mobilized now will join the war. But the situation is very volatile. We cannot make any predictions how it will be in a month or two. So it is a problem. It is a problem already, but still, I would like to repeat it, most Russians fulfill the orders.
All right, well, let's actually talk about the reservists who are actually answering the call. Are these soldiers going to make any difference on the battlefield in Ukraine?
Well, it is a difficult question. I think we have to split it. It is possible that they do what they are supposed to do, if the aim is to stabilize the front line, which was what President Putin said. He said in his mobilization speech that the front line is over 1,000 kilometers long and the situation needs to be stabilized there. If that's the purpose, yes, they could. But if the purpose is to advance, to attack, to occupy new territories of Ukraine, which I think is the purpose number two, problems could arise because these mobilized soldiers are not very well trained. They will need a lot of time to get proper equipment. Winter is coming. It will be very cold, and we have seen that Russia has some problems with heavy armors. And in general, I would say the bigger the army, the bigger the problems. And Putin's army is getting bigger now, so the problems will also will be getting bigger.
Thanks, Roman. Roman Goncharenko, DW's Russia analyst.